Okay,
really
first
true.
of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at, so I'm thinking.
The Indiana Fever find themselves at the center of one of the most emotionally charged and culturally significant moments in recent WNBA history, and at the heart of it all are two names that continue to dominate headlines: Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. What initially appeared to be just another roster move has evolved into a storyline filled with tension, loyalty, controversy, and unexpected honesty, creating a narrative that extends far beyond basketball. When Sophie Cunningham was traded from the Phoenix Mercury to the Indiana Fever as part of a historic multi-team deal on January 31st, 2025, few could have predicted the ripple effects that decision would have across the league. Cunningham, known for her toughness, shooting ability, and fearless mentality, entered a completely different environment, one defined not just by competition, but by relentless media attention and the polarizing presence of Caitlin Clark, the most talked-about player in women's basketball. Clark's arrival in the WNBA had already sparked debates about favoritism, media bias, and the treatment of rookies, and stepping into that spotlight meant that every action, every game, and every interaction would be scrutinized. For Cunningham, the transition was anything but smooth. Injuries disrupted her early months, delaying her debut and preventing her from establishing immediate chemistry with her new teammates. The pressure mounted quickly, and questions began to surface about whether the trade would ultimately benefit the Fever or become another failed experiment in roster construction. However, as the season progressed, Cunningham began to find her rhythm, and when she was finally inserted into the starting lineup, her impact became undeniable. She brought energy, intensity, and a level of physicality that the Fever desperately needed, averaging over 11 points per game while shooting efficiently and quickly becoming one of the team's most reliable contributors. But it wasn't just her performance that captured attention. It was her attitude, her willingness to stand up for her teammates, and her refusal to back down in high-pressure moments. That defining moment came during a heated matchup against the Connecticut Sun on June 17th, when a physical play resulted in Caitlin Clark taking a hit to the eye. While such incidents are often brushed off as part of the game, Cunningham's reaction was anything but typical. In a moment that instantly went viral, she confronted JC Sheldon and forcefully brought her to the ground, leading to her immediate ejection. The clip spread across social media within hours, igniting debates about aggression, loyalty, and the unwritten rules of basketball. To some, Cunningham crossed a line. To others, she embodied the very essence of a teammate willing to protect her own at all costs. What made the situation even more compelling was her response afterward. Rather than issuing a cautious or apologetic statement, Cunningham stood firm, openly declaring that she had no regrets and emphasizing her role as a protector on the court. That unapologetic stance resonated with fans and contributed to a massive surge in her popularity, turning her into a viral sensation almost overnight. However, the real turning point in this unfolding story didn't occur during a game. It happened off the court, in a setting where players often feel more comfortable speaking candidly. On her podcast, Cunningham made a revelation that sent shockwaves throughout the basketball community. She confirmed what many fans had suspected but few players had openly admitted: Caitlin Clark was being targeted by opponents across the league. According to Cunningham, these actions weren't random or purely competitive. They were intentional, a way for veteran players to send a message to a highly publicized rookie who had entered the league with unprecedented attention and expectations. This admission added a new layer to the ongoing conversation about Clark's experience in the WNBA, shifting it from speculation to confirmation and forcing analysts, fans, and even fellow players to confront an uncomfortable reality. Cunningham's perspective carried weight because she had seen both sides. She had been in opposing locker rooms where strategies were discussed, and she had also been Clark's teammate, witnessing firsthand the physical and emotional toll of that targeting. Her honesty disrupted the narrative that had been carefully managed for months, and in doing so, it elevated her from a supporting figure to a central voice in one of the league's most important discussions. As if that wasn't enough, Cunningham went even further by addressing the ongoing debate about Caitlin Clark's role in the WNBA's growth. In a statement that quickly gained traction online, She asserted that anyone who denied Clark's influence on the league simply wasn't being truthful. This wasn't an attempt to diminish other players or their contributions, but rather a recognition of the undeniable impact Clark had on viewership, attendance, and overall interest in women's basketball. Coming from a teammate who had no obligation to make such a declaration, the statement carried a level of authenticity that resonated with fans and added fuel to an already intense debate. Yet, despite the controversies and heated discussions, Cunningham also provided a glimpse into a more personal and relatable side of Caitlin Clark. She described her not as an untouchable superstar, but as a down-to-earth, humorous individual who enjoys joking around and doesn't take herself too seriously. This portrayal helped humanize Clark in the eyes of many fans, offering a contrast to the often intense and polarizing image presented by media coverage. It also highlighted the genuine connection between the two players, a bond that extended beyond the court and into their everyday interactions. Unfortunately, just as the Fever seemed to be building momentum, injuries once again disrupted their progress. Clark was limited to only 13 games due to multiple setbacks, while Cunningham suffered a torn MCL that ended her season prematurely. The team, already struggling with consistency, found itself overwhelmed by adversity, and what had once been a promising campaign turned into a test of resilience. Watching from the sidelines, Cunningham could only observe as her teammates fought through the remainder of the season, their efforts falling short of the expectations that had been set earlier in the year. As the off-season approached, uncertainty loomed large over both the Fever and Cunningham's future. Her one-year contract had expired, making her an unrestricted free agent at a time when the league itself was navigating complex negotiations related to its collective bargaining agreement. Adding to the intrigue was the emergence of alternative opportunities, including a lucrative offer from a new international league that reportedly promised significantly higher earnings than the WNBA. For many players, such an offer would have been an easy decision, but Cunningham's situation was different. Despite the financial incentives elsewhere, she repeatedly expressed her desire to return to Indiana and continue playing alongside Caitlin Clark. This loyalty did not go unnoticed by fans, who began to rally behind the idea of bringing her back, viewing her as an essential piece of the team's identity. The Fever organization now faces a critical decision, one that will not only impact their roster but also send a message about the kind of culture they want to build moving forward. With expansion teams entering the league and competition for talent intensifying, every move carries greater significance. The pressure from fans, combined with reports suggesting that Clark herself values Cunningham's presence, has created a sense of urgency around the situation. Beyond the immediate roster implications, this entire saga reflects a broader shift within the WNBA, where player voices are becoming more influential and narratives are no longer controlled solely by traditional media outlets. Cunningham's willingness to speak openly, even when it meant challenging established perspectives, has positioned her as a key figure in this evolving landscape. Her journey, from a trade piece to a viral sensation, from a role player to a central voice in a league-wide conversation, illustrates the unpredictable nature of sports and the power of authenticity in connecting with audiences. At the same time, Caitlin Clark's experience continues to serve as a focal point for discussions about treatment, expectations, and the pressures of being a transformative figure in professional sports. Together, their stories intersect in a way that has captured the attention of fans around the world, turning the Indiana Fever into one of the most compelling teams to watch, regardless of their win-loss record. As the 2026 season approaches, questions remain unanswered. Will Cunningham return to the Fever, solidifying her role as both an enforcer and a leader? How will Clark perform with a healthier roster and a year of experience behind her? And perhaps most importantly, how will the league respond to the issues that have been brought to light? One thing is certain: this story is far from over. It continues to evolve with each passing day, fueled by new developments, shifting dynamics, and the ever-present spotlight that follows players like Caitlin Clark. In many ways, the chaos surrounding the Indiana Fever is not just a challenge, but an opportunity to redefine narratives, strengthen team identity, and shape the future of the WNBA. And at the center of it all stands Sophie Cunningham, a player who refused to stay silent, who embrace the chaos instead of avoiding it, and who, in doing so, may have changed the trajectory of an entire franchise.